Yo, 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 what's good? It's your boy Flossmore. I'm back to our continued series here on the channel, the Chicago Iceberg. Today we'll be diving into Tier 2, and it's kind of wicked. I do want to say thank you to anyone that liked, commented, and shared the first tier of the Iceberg. So, round of applause for you all. Have yourselves on the back and things like that. But I don't want to spoil anything in the intro. I just want to, let's go ahead, get right into it.
Tier 2 Entry 1, the Chicago Fire.
The Chicago Fire. You are there. Walter Cronkite reporting, Sunday, October 8th, 1871. In this year and month, we are suffering in Chicago a strange calamity that is most devastating and annoying to that new city, which is now only 30 years old.
The Great Chicago Fire. A disaster started accidentally by a man named Louis Kahn, who had years later eventually confessed that he had knocked over a lantern in a barn belonging to both Patrick and Catherine O'Leary as he was trying to flee an illegal card game. The fire stretched 3.3 square miles, killing exactly 300 people and destroying 17,000 structures. The fire itself starting October 8th, ending October 10th, lasting for about 2 days, also leaving 100,000 residents homeless, causing about $222 million worth of debt.
Entry 2, the Skokie Case.
The Skokie Case, also referred to as the Skokie Affair, is a landmark case decided by the Supreme Courts having to do with the First Amendment between the White Nationalist Party and the village of Skokie. It is often seen as a paradigm in the court system dealing with freedom of speech and the freedom of assembly, with the Supreme Court lifting the lower courts of Illinois' injunction on the NSPA's march, essentially allowing neo-Nazis to march freely and practice freedom of speech.
Entry 3, Lake Monster.
The Chicago Lake Monster. This is dead. That's not even anything. Like, I searched YouTube, Google, Wikipedia, whatever, you name it. There is no Chicago Lake Monster. This is just a throw-off.
Entry 4, Juice WRLD.
What's going on? It's Keith. We're going to talk about Juice WRLD. Born Gerard Anthony Higgins, December 2nd, 1998. Big figure in the SoundCloud rap community and arguably a legend with a cult-like fan bases. Known for his uncanny ability to freestyle for hours, managed to take off in a way which many people have only seen a few times. He battled with both love and addiction, which were always present in his music. On December 8th, shortly after landing at Chicago Midway Airport, Juice had suffered from an acute oxycodone and codeine intoxication, essentially leading to an overdose. In efforts to try and hide several pills which he had on person, sadly passing away at the young age of 21.
Entry 5, Good Time.
Good Times is a sitcom based on an African-American family that was released in 1974 and was supposed to have taken place in Chicago at the infamous Cabrini Green Housing Project, with the star-studded cast of Esther Rolle, John Amos, and Jimmy Walker. The show was actually filmed in LA. The dramatic narrative is considered a triumph of realism by the primetime standards of that era, being both funny but capable of relaying genuine, relatable life lessons.
Entry 6, 5th Star.
Me being me, I thought that this was in reference to the city's flag. No. From what I could gather and research, this is a whole operation. It seems pretty politically charged. They have a website, actually. I'd recommend you go there and you do your own research and gather what you can. But this is what I could gather from their very first quote on site, We are equalizing opportunity for underrepresented founders. We provide equitable access to friends and family, capital to launch brilliant untapped ideas. And it gets very politicky, buzzwordy after that. These people definitely have a demographic. I would really recommend you guys do your own research into this, and if it's something that, rocks your boat, changes your position, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Entry 7 Chief Keef.
Keith Farrell Cozart, also known as Chief Keef, was born August 15, 1995. He's an infamous rapper and often looked at as the godfather of drill music in Chicago, at least. His influence from songs like Love Sosa, Finito, and Bang put a spotlight back on Chicago in the 2010 era. The controversy, though, concerning Mr. Keef stems from a beef he had between a rival gang set, which caused a war that has now been both publicized and monetized and seems nearly endless. There are countless videos diving into the who is who and who does what. I would recommend that you guys go check those other people out, like Trap Lord Ross, DJ Academics, those guys, you know what I'm saying? They could definitely steer you where you want to be, I guess. Yeah, I don't really like to get into all the gang
Ooh, yeah. She think I'm cute, she wanna have sex.
Entry 8 Sirens.
So apparently, I didn't know this was like a special thing. I thought all cities did this. I guess not. The city uses a system called the EWS, which is an outdoor all hazardous siren system. The city has 112 sirens strategically placed on poles 1 to 2 miles apart to ensure total citywide coverage. And the occasionally can sound disturbing.
Entry 9 Eastland Disaster.
SS Eastland was a passenger ship with a mass capacity of 2,752. Launched May 6, 1903 with flawed design, which were known but never remedied, inevitably resulting in disaster, July 24, 1915. The ship, while tied to a dock, rolled over onto its side, killing in total 844 passengers and crew in what was the largest loss of life from a shipwreck on the Great Lakes.
Entry 10 Picasso Face.
Pablo Picasso's gift to Chicago.
There is a Picasso sculpture that is downtown Chicago. It is designed by Picasso himself. It is modeled after one of his dogs, or his dog, I don't know, like that. But it cost roughly $351,959.17. Although Picasso himself declined being paid, he insisted that it be a gift to the city. So that kind of just left me wondering, where exactly did all $351,000 go? It kind of caused controversy from the city because people just didn't understand what the sculpture was supposed to represent. That doesn't really matter to me. I'm more concerned about what happened with money, where did it go, who took claim for it, because he didn't, obviously. It's pretty interesting.
Entry 11 McDonald Tapes.
This has to do with the tragic murder of 17-year-old Laquan McDonald at the hands of the Chicago Police Department on October 20th, 2014. In the initial release dash cam footage, Laquan can be seen being cornered in the street by both police and squad cars. Although he was walking the opposite direction, he was acting erratically while wielding a knife, eventually being gunned down by Officer Jason Van Dyke, shooting the teen 16 times. Initially, the piece of was sentenced to 6 years prison, but he was released in February of 2022. The McDonald family reached a $5 million settlement with the city of Chicago in 2015. And the weirdest thing to me about this entire situation is that the dashcam footage from that night wasn't released till 400 days later, and even then, there were still gaps within the video.
Entry 12 Crab Man.
Alright, whoever made this Iceberg is really with me. They're really pulling my leg here, because this is throw off number 2. Clearly, there's no Chicago crab man, and from what I could find, it's just some weird neckbeard dude, you know what I'm saying, that had nothing else to do, so they decided to make a 4chan mysteries type beat video about a cryptid, about a crab man, a crab humanoid thing, and yeah. Why am I wasting my time researching this?
Entry 13 The river flows backward.
So apparently, prior to the 1900s, the Chicago River would push water from the plains to Lake Michigan, so when raw sewage and any other pollutant was dumped there, it was inadvertently added to the city's primary source of drinking water. Reasonably out of fear and spread of disease, officials decided to permanently reverse the river's flow, using a series of canal locks stretching 28 miles long, sending all polluted water to the Mississippi River instead.
Entry 14 The Chicago Spire Hole.
Also known as the Chicago Spire Hole, was born from an idea that was actually supposed to be the construction of the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere, and was planned to be 2,000 feet, 150 floors, on 400 North Lake Shore. Construction started partially in 2007 and ended shortly after in 2008. In what was supposed to be a 9-year plan, the hole is still there, apparently, but the Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill architect firm has proposed a new two-sister luxury apartment project, which was approved by the city in 2020.
Entry 15 The Silver Spray.
On July 15, 1914, basically a year before the Eastland disaster, the Silver Spray set sail to take some university students to Indiana for a tour of steel mills. Literally probably the most boring field trip I've ever heard of, but unfortunately the ship never arrived, as the ship collided with an underwater rock formation. Once apparent, the ship was the captain and crew decided to remain with the ship until being rescued the next day. Why? But to this day, the remains of the Silver Spray can be spotted barely peeking out of Lake Michigan.
Entry 16 Devil of Hull House.
In the year of 1889, a woman by the name of Jane Addams, known for her writing, settlement work, and international efforts for peace, decided to start a settlement for immigrants, children, and women. The settlement itself being used as a kindergarten and daycare facility, also an art gallery, library, and theater, but unfortunately, the whole house would be the birthplace of a disturbingly deformed, monstrous baby. The story goes, social worker Jane Addams, in 1913, took in a woman and allowed her to live in the settlement, but apparently, the woman's husband, being an early 20th century boy, would destroy religious fixtures his wife would set up and say he'd rather have the devil in his house over any more religious fixtures. Eventually, his wife would give birth to what some claim was a devil baby, having pointed ears, horns, and a pointed tail. And to this day, people passing by that house report seeing a demonic-like face staring back at them from the upstairs window. And this Chicago folklore tale would be inspiration for a 1968 horror drama film, Rosemary's Baby.
Entry 17 The Untouchables.
A film based on Al Capone's bootlegging alcohol empire and Prohibition agent Eliot Ness's effort to take down Capone. The film, released June 3, 1987, details Ness's efforts and how they would fail constantly due to Capone's widespread corruption within the Windy City's police force, eventually recruiting an all-elite group of lawmen who wouldn't be swayed by bribes or fear. There is also a 2-hour bus tour you can enjoy that drives through the mobsters' infamous hangout spots. The film itself having a star-studded cast of Gerard Butler, Kevin Costner, Sean Connery, and Robert De Niro.
Entry 18 Al Capone.
Alphonse Gabriel Capone, also known by Scarface, born January 17, 1899 in New York, and is a notorious businessman and gangster who during the Roaring Twenties era moved to Chicago, where through bodyguarding, he started working for a man named Johnny Torrio, who was the head of an illegal alcohol supplier at the time and was politically protected by Unione Siciliana. He went into retirement after a near-death experience with a rival North Side gang, leading him to handing control of his crime syndicate, the Outfit, to Capone, who expanded the bootlegging business through more violent means, but his relationship with Mayor William Hale Thompson in the Chicago Police Department kept him safe until an event coined St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which occurred the morning of February 14, 1929, in which 4 unknown assailants, 2 dressed as Chicago policemen, gunned down several men in a Lincoln Park neighborhood garage. Keeping in mind, this happened early morning in a very nice neighborhood in Chicago, the citizens weren't too pleased with that, so they demanded government action behind those actions, and eventually Al Capone was thwarted.
Tier 2 completed.
Yeah, I hope that this was enjoyable and informative for you in some way, shape, or form. This shit was definitely informative for me. I did not know we had so many goddamn ship wreckages. They definitely don't teach you about that type of in school. But yeah, it's been your boy Flossmore. I want to say thank you to my friend Keith for participating. And we just want to say thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Flossmore out.